Hi and welcome everyone, or should I say hello everybody in video land. Welcome to my live stream about how to use Garmin BaseCamp. So the purpose of this stream really is to give people an understanding of how to use BaseCamp effectively. It's a tool that many people have frustrations with using or plotting routes and so on, and it does have a little bit of a learning curve, but it's nothing major to get over. I've spent some time and energy learning how to use it properly, and so I hope I can show some other people how to use it well. Frustrations people often have with BaseCamp are that they plot routes at home and they only realize that there's a problem when they're out in the field or out in the countryside and the device isn't following what they wanted or so on. So that can add to increasing levels of frustration. So let's deal with those things today. So firstly, installing BaseCamp. To install BaseCamp, you'd simply go to garmin.com/BaseCamp, and at the bottom down here you can install for Mac and PC. The interfaces are slightly different for Mac and PC, but the core functions are pretty much the same. So once you've installed BaseCamp, the first hurdle people typically come to is it looks like this. So if I zoom in on the map, let's say if I zoom in on London, you see the map isn't very good. It has all these jagged lines and so on. So what this is displaying is what's called the global map. So the global map is a map that comes with BaseCamp just so it shows something. If it didn't have the global map, it would show nothing, just a blank screen, and you'd think it wasn't working very well or wasn't working correctly. But the global map is not very useful for plotting routes because it doesn't have really any detail. What we need to do is use a more detailed map. So there's two ways we can do this. We can plug in the device or our Garmin device into the computer as I have, and then the maps on the device will be available for us to use. So now on the drop down, I've got all of these additional maps other than the global maps. If I choose one of those, it will load. Now you'll notice it's prompting me saying the map is also installed on the computer. We can also install the map from our device onto the computer, which means it will work more efficiently, and also it'll be available offline, so when our device isn't plugged in. So what I'll do is I'll just show you how to do that before I click on yes. So to do that, you need to install Garmin Express, which is a tool for installing updates on your Garmin devices. And then once you've done that and you've added your device, you can click on your device and give that a second to load, and you must click on map details, map options for the map, and then install to computer. Once you've done that, then the map is available to use offline. So if I click on yes, that will take me to the map from my device that's installed on my computer. Now you'll see we've got a lot more detail, and if we zoom in, streets are actually as they are supposed to be, and so on. There's a couple of ways we can make this map more useful to us. So I'll explain those now. So you'll notice if we zoom out, we've got a lot of detail. In fact, if I go just bit higher and show a bit more detail, it's showing us a lot of detail on all these little black dots here. These little black dots are cities and towns, and if I zoom in a bit more, we can see I'll go in a couple of levels. There's going to be a lot of information that's irrelevant to us. If I go maybe highest detail here, so all of these things here, like cache points and so on. If we're plotting routes, a lot of those mightn't be relevant to us at all, or indeed we might want to see every city and town and so on. So we can refine this view to show more things that are important to us. So what I'm going to do straight away, I'm going to change the activity profile to motorcycling, because that's mostly what the focus of today is going to be. And then if I click on this drop down and go down to edit activity profiles, and under here where it says map display features, click select, I can remove stuff that I don't want to be on there. So the first thing, like points, I think I'll remove all of these, because maybe all of these except cities for now. I'll leave cities, because all of these things, when I'm plotting routes, I don't really care about that much. Maybe fuel, I could leave that as well. Lines, they're all okay, but transportation, I'll leave all of those for now, and areas are fine as well. So now when I click on close and OK, all of that stuff disappears except for maybe the fuel station. So we've already got a much clearer view. Now, if I zoom out a bit more, just give that a second to load. In fact, I'll jump it down to maybe higher detail. You see, we've still got all these dots for towns, and that might be useful to you. But if you're plotting in an area where you know quite well, you might want to see all the towns, specifically, especially if you zoom out. You see, we've got tons and tons and tons of these dots. Unfortunately, the way BaseCamp works, everything is considered a city, but we can make those disappear as well. So again, if we click on the drop down, edit activity profiles, and go to select, and go to points, and remove cities, and click on close. There we go. We have a nice map to plot on. Now, that may or may not be useful to you. You may want to plot between towns and so on, but I'm just showing you ways in which you can clean up the map. And then one final tip I'll show you just while we're working with map controls. If I zoom in a bit more on here. In BaseCamp in the United Kingdom in particular, every road classified above, well, an A road and above is considered a highway. So if we go back to the settings again, edit activity profiles, and select and go to lines, it was transportation, and uncheck highways. Click on OK and close. All the highways are gone now. Well, everything A road and above is gone, and why that's useful is now all of the B roads are extremely visible. So if you were plotting a motorcycle route, or B road blast as we sometimes call them, we can see all of the B roads really clearly. And when you plot between these, I'll just show you that quickly. So if I go to a new route, let me go into here and create just briefly a new route. If you plot between the end, see that B road, the end of it disappears, but if you plot over here, it will find the roads between them, which is quite cool. So that's just a quick tip for now. So let me go ahead and delete that route. Okay, so those are the main things to consider about the map. I'm going to bring back the A roads for now, just so that it's easier for us to see. But yeah, it's an interesting tip to be aware of. So it was lines, transportation, highways. There we go. Okay, so now they're all back. Brilliant. And I think I'll bring back cities as well, just for now. That'll help me orientate myself a bit. But you see, you can remove some of the detail and make it easier to use. So I think those are the points regarding the map. Okay, so we've looked at the detailed map, making it more useful. How to change units is quite simple, really. So down here on the bottom right, we've got miles. We go to edit, edit options, and then we go to measurement, and then you can change it from statute, which is miles per hour, to kilometers or nautical miles or so on. I'll show you that quickly. If I change it to metric, the scale down there will change to metric, and then all the units within the program will change to metric, all the speeds and so on. Just choose whichever one is most relevant to where you're working. Okay, so next let's look at how the filing system works. So on the left here is the filing system as it's presented when you first install BaseCamp in this pane here. So this is the top bit here, the library is what's on the computer. The piece below Zumo XT is what's on the device. I've currently plugged my device in, so that's why it's appearing there. So this library works with folders and lists. So let's go and create a folder. So I'm going to create a new list folder and call that example routes. So folders contain lists and lists contain route data. So I'm going to right click on that folder and choose new list and call it, let's call it list 1. And I'll create another list and call it list 2. There we go, list. As far as I remember, I think we can create subfolders. Yeah, brilliant. So we can create subfolders if you wanted to. Someone who was speaking to me on the internet over my YouTube channel said he created folders for different states in America, but you could create folders for states and then subroutes and substates and so on. Substates, no, subfolders for routes within those states. So how this works is actually quite simple, but it takes a couple of minutes to get your head around. So when we create things in our lists, they appear in the list, but they also appear up at the top here, the root folder, if you like. You could call that the main bin, if you like. So let's go and do an example here. So let's go into central London, near where there are some parks. Let me orientate myself. Yes, we're going to go West London. Okay, so there's like Regent's Park and Hyde Park. Unfortunately, Hyde Park appears white as if it's snowed. And then, let me see. Let's go to the Regent's Park, Hyde Park, and then Holland Park, which is here. Okay, so let's say, for example, we wanted to create some waypoints. So we click on New Waypoint or the Waypoint tool. Let's create one there. So that is Regent's Park. Let's create one here, which is already labeled because I clicked on something that already existed. That's important, actually. I'll reference that later. If you click on something that already exists, it takes the name. And let's go and create one in Holland Park. So what I'll do, I'll create another one in Hyde Park, just that doesn't have a label. I'm going to delete this one, the Peter Pan statue. All right, click, and let's go and delete. There we go. Okay, it will be deleted from all this. Great. Okay, so what did we have? Trail was Regent's Park. So let's go and rename that. And number 2, that was Hyde Park. So I'm going to rename that. Rename Park. And number 3 was Holland Park. So I'll rename that as Holland Park. Okay, so those are all in the list. They're all in list 1, and they're also up at the top here, the live stream database. Now, if I move one of these, so let's go and say I cut that and put it into list 2 into there. So it's now in list 2, not in list 1, but it's also in the top piece here, the live stream database. They all sit in there. It's like they sit in the root folder, but they're exposed in lists. Now, when you come to delete one of these, like say if I wanted to delete Holland Park, I've got 2 options. I can permanently delete it, which means it's deleted from everywhere, or I can remove it from list 2. So if I remove it from list 2, it's not in that list, but it's still in the root, if you like, which was Holland Park. And then you can go and copy it back and put it into there if you want to. So when you're working with this, again, if I just create a route quickly, just an example, let's go north to south. There's our route. So that's sitting in list 2, and if I remove it from list 2 or list 1, apologies, it stays in the route. So the route is almost a bit like a kind of a recycle bin. So when you're working with your data, you can generally just remove stuff from your lists and leave it in there unless you really, really want to permanently delete it. So that's how that piece works, and it takes a couple of minutes to get your head around it, but it's not very difficult, really. Some other things that are worth mentioning here that I don't really use, but it's worth mentioning them anyway. There's like the auto-generated lists, which is, or maybe they've been removed. So there's a way, well, there was a way you could create, or maybe it's Mac only, I'm thinking now. You can create lists with filters. So you can say, show me a list that only shows waypoints or so on, and it would show them up there. But maybe that's Mac only. We'll park that for now. I'll come back to it. Okay, so now we understand the filing system. We can go and start plotting routes. Now, the first thing to consider when plotting routes is to align your activity profiles. And this is like super important because we want the device to follow the route we've plotted. We don't want it to take deviations based on various things. So the first thing we need to do is align our activity profile. So if I go to the motorcycling, edit activity profiles, and I go to routing, and we've got the preferences or the activity profile preferences here. So the route preference currently is faster time. For routes that you're plotting where you want the device to actually do what you tell it to do, I would always recommend faster time because we can add more via points to make sure it takes the route we want. I would avoid using, for routes where plotting that we wanted to follow, I'd avoid using curvy roads because then it makes its own mind up, or it gets a bit clever and decides I want to route you on a curvy road, and I'd avoid shorter distance as well. We wanted to effectively do what we say. And then these next sections here, road type avoidances, so interstates, major highways and so on. I'd uncheck everything there except for maybe unpaved roads. And then feature type avoidances, I'd keep most of these unchecked. So we've got cable cars, narrow trails, carpool lanes, day and time closures, and climbing paths. Area avoidances, we haven't created any of those yet. It says show area avoidances tool, show them on the map. So you can create an area to avoid, but that's not so relevant now. So this is on the computer. We need this to match our device. So on the device, I'm just going to unplug it quickly. And you'll notice now that I've unplugged it, this piece on the left here is going to disappear. So let me fire it up and turn on the other camera, which is here. Okay, so there we go. That's going to load up now. Apologies, this picture is a little bit grainy. This is the only other webcam I had available. So I'm looking to get another nice sharp one like the one that's currently filming me. But it's going to be suitable enough for today's demonstration. So that is booting up. So on your Garmin device, you need to go, well, firstly, you need to set the activity profile we want to match. So we want to match the motorcycling activity profiles. Just make sure it's selected there, motorcycle. And then you need to go to settings. Now notice certain bits of this menu have a picture of a motorcycle next to them. So these are things specific for the motorcycling activity profile. So we need to go to navigation. And we need to go to, well, calculation times faster time, that matches already. We need to go to avoidances, and we need to make sure these match what's currently in BaseCamp. So the avoidances on the device currently are U-turns, car share lanes, and unpaved roads. Okay, so if we go back and look at BaseCamp, so there we go. So we've got here, well, U-turns isn't checked, but that's not so important. We could check that if we wanted to. We haven't got any of the other, like, so on the Garmin device, it says motorways, which is the equivalent of interstates and so on. But the point I'm trying to make is this should match as much as possible. So what I'll do on my device, in fact, I'll uncheck U-turns. Let me go and do that. So that is correct. So there we go. Gonna uncheck U-turns, save. I'm pretty good at U-turns actually, so it's not so bad. So now we've got these matching. Okay, that's the first step. Whether we're doing it for the motorcycling activity profile, which we've done here, we might also want to do it for the car activity profile as well. Let's just do that for completeness actually. So that's correct. So we flip this down and go to driving, the car activity profile. Oops, you didn't see that. Let me change that. So we're going to go, we were here, motorcycling. And if we're going to do the same for car, we go to driving. And then on the device, we would go to the home screen and click on the vehicle. There we go. And change it to car and click on save. And then we go to settings. And notice now we've got our car next to these things. We go to navigation, avoidances, and just make sure this matches what you have in BaseCamp. Because otherwise it's not going to work very well. What I'll do also, I'll put on GPX simulator just for now. There we go. Okay, cool. Right, so now we've done that, which is the first step. We can now move on and start plotting some of our routes. Okay, so brilliant. So I touched briefly on route calculation modes before, and I'll just go over that again quickly. So for the purposes of plotting routes, I would always select faster time. I'll show you a bit of the differences actually. So let's say if we wanted to plot a route from, let's do something simple, from north to south. So let's go in example list 1, and we'll go from north to south. There we go, to south. There we go. So that is currently with a fastest time activity profile. Now, if we go and change that, so we go to edit activity profiles, I'll move this out of the way so we can see. So we go to routing and change that to shorter distance. I click on OK. It's going to recalculate. And now it's gone a slightly different route. And if we do it again, so we go to Edit Activity Profiles, and we change this to routing curvy roads, it's going to go and change again. So there we go. So, I mean, not the best example, but it's changed slightly to try and find more curvy roads. When we're plotting routes, we don't want it to try and be clever. We just want it to follow what we say. So we should always choose the activity profile of fastest time. Okay. So just to be aware how that influences things. Okay, so let me go and delete that for now. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so next we're going to consider the route structure. And this is super important when working with BaseCamp. So routes are made up of via points. The minimum number of via points a route can have are 2. The start point and the end point. All of the points that come between the start point and the end point I call intermediate via points. And intermediate via points can be either alerting via points or non-alerting via points, also known as shaping points. The start point and the end point are compulsory alerting via points. In terms of the differences between alerting and non-alerting via points, so an alerting via point appears as a flag on the map and it will announce. So it will say approaching whatever you've called it. And then as you pass it, it will say or announce when you've passed it. If you miss an alerting via point, but you stay on the route, the device will route you back to go and collect it unless you click the skip via point function on the device. So regardless of what, so maybe you've positioned it wrongly in someone's driveway or something, it'll route you back to go and get it. A non-alerting via point or shaping point, if you miss one but you stay on the route, it just dismisses it and moves on. So when you're creating routes, I really recommend that you choose non-alerting via points for all your intermediate points. So let's go and create a simple route. What I'll do is I'll change the detail setting to medium, and we'll come to here. So the simplest way you can create a route is firstly check that we're going to use the activity profile we want to do, say motorcycling, and we've set that up, we've aligned it, so we're good to go. We click on the new route tool. Now, this first step is the first confusing step in BaseCamp because it says drag start point here, drag destination here. And we're thinking, well, actually, I just want to plot a route. So what do I do? Well, you can simply just dismiss this. Later on, you could drag a via point here as a start point, or sorry, drag a waypoint there as a start point or an end point, or you could search for them. But most people just want to plot. So you can just dismiss that straight away. So let's say we wanted to do a simple route, and we're going to do a lap of Hyde Park just as an example. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start on Queen's Gate. I'm going to go towards Knightsbridge, and then I'm going to come towards Marble Arch, and then I'm going to go towards Notting Hill, and come south on Kensington Church Street, and finish here. Should be Gloucester Road. Okay, so there's my my route so far. I can right click to finish plotting that. Now, so I go and discuss the route structure. If I double click on the route, just what I'll do is I'll zoom out a little bit so we can see both. Move that across. This point here is our start point, and you'll see it doesn't have anything in the description. If I right click on it, I can't change the type of via point. So it's I can't change it to non-alerting. So your start point there, compulsory alerting. The end point here, same, that's a compulsory alerting. These intermediate ones, they're all currently set as won't alert. So, but you can right click on these and change it to alert on arrival. And now when you arrive at that on the bike, it will say arriving at Knightsbridge on the left. And if you miss it for some reason because you've mispositioned it or something, it'll route you back to get it. Now, previous versions of BaseCamp, and I've just updated to the latest version now, so you may experience this. Previous versions of BaseCamp, if you clicked on something that already existed, like there, something that it already knows, it would say or make it an alerting via point automatically. But it seems now that they're all created as non-alerting. So maybe they've been watching my videos where I recommend to people to make them non-alerting. So With this route, what I'd recommend you do is change all the intermediate via points to non-alerting. So you can click on the first one, shift click on the end one, and then click don't alert on arrival. And you see in brackets, it says their shaping point. So now all of those won't alert on arrival. And if you miss one and stay on the route, it won't route you back to it. Now, just talk briefly about this term shaping point. So if I go and change this one back, you'll notice it says don't alert on arrival shaping point. So one of the Garmin terms for a non-alerting via point is a shaping point. I really dislike that terminology. Really do. So you'll hear me call them alerting and non-alerting. The reason I dislike it is because if that's a shaping point, then like an alerting via point is also a shaping point and a start point. They're all shaping, they all shape the route or have influence on the route. So I think that term is somewhat misleading. So just be aware that it means they won't alert. So that is a simple route. Now, let's go ahead and transfer that to the device. I hope that was clear about alerting and non-alerting via points. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to plug the device back in over here. It's just out of shot. And click continue. There we go. So that is now connecting. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click on this when the device appears. It's going to take a couple of seconds to load up on the top here, and I'm going to send it to the device. But before I do that, there's a couple of things I should have also pointed out. So positioning of via points is very, very important because if you position them incorrectly, it can divert you into the wrong direction, or it can send you round a roundabout when you really needed the first exit, things like that. So let's go and check how we've positioned these. So a cool thing you can do here is center this on the map. So when you choose your via points, when this is selected, center map on selected items, it centers the map on those, and then you can zoom in and check them. So that one is actually not very well positioned because this is a street with like a division piece in the middle or whatever. So that's not really where it should be. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and move that. So we're going to choose the move point tool, and we just go over it and move it to where it should be. When positioning via points, you should always position them in clear stretches of road. Don't position them on junctions or roundabouts or anything like that. And a good thing to consider when you're doing your via points is position them not further ahead on the route, but say if you're coming to a junction and you wanted to go left, when you're positioning the via point, imagine you're at that junction and position it further up the road to the left. Don't position it on the junction. That'll make it easier to understand and navigate. So let's go to the next one, Knightsbridge. That one looks okay, so that's good to go. Park Lane looks okay, clear stretch of road. Nice. Bayswater looks okay. Kensington High Street, see that? I'm not happy with that because you see it's on a junction. We want it to be in a clear stretch of road. So again, choose the move point tool and move it to a clear stretch of road and release. And then we are good to go. And finally, Gloucester Road. Ooh, that's not good, is it? No. Again, you wouldn't really even want to finish a route on a crossroads like that because it's going to be saying arriving at such and such. And again, that's a small distraction, only a small distraction, but the end of the route, just position it maybe somewhere off to the left here in a clear stretch of road so that you've navigated that junction before you start considering your navigation instructions. Okay, so we've cleaned up the route. That's super important to do that, regardless of how you've plotted the route or whether you've imported it from a track, which I'll deal with a bit later. Always check all your via points. So they're all in good order now. So let's go ahead and send it to the device. So I'm going to right click and rename this. Let's call it Lap of Hyde Park. One other thing I should have mentioned as well, you can rename your via points. So it should be down here. So you can call this whatever you like, and then it'll announce on the device. So let's call it something sensible like first via point. There we go. There it goes. So now it's going to show up as the first via point. Let's make that alerting just for the example. if you like. So that is all set. You could have fun with this if you were sending routes to people and say, hello, Steve, or so on. Or thinking about it a bit further, there's a stretch in Essex that we go to. Essex is a county sort of east of London, and there's a wonderful set of bends that we go through, and there's a warning sign that says the maximum speed 25. And the last time I was on there, a new chap had joined our crew or our gang. And the ride leader, James, said to him like this, you're going to see a warning sign that says 25. It is 25. Don't try and go faster than 25 or we'll have to fish you out of a hedge. So you could write that even. Don't go faster than 25 or you'll have to be fished out of the hedge. If you wanted to, you could put that there. One other thing that is still looks like on a crossroads. So I'll practice what I preach and move that to there. There we go. Let's just check again. So that is all looking good. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and send it to the device. Now, there are new ways to do this with Garmin Explore, but I haven't figured all that out yet. I'm working on that at the moment because my new device is compatible with Garmin Explore. So that will come later, but for now, I'll just show you how to do it in a simple way. So you can use these buttons here to send the whole list to the device or receive data from the device. It's easier just to choose what you want in the list. Right click, send to, choose the device and click on OK, because then you're not sending more information than is necessary. So if we look here, it zips across, it's green and it's on the device. So now let's go and look at it on the device. So let's go and enable the Panasonic camera. There we go. Okay, so I'm plugging the cable out of the back and we're going to let this boot up and it will become bright soon. So give that a second to load. There you go, that's booting up now. This is the new Garmin Zemo XT. I've had it about a month, absolutely love it. I'm going to produce a video comparing this with my old device, which was the 590LM soon. I actually really love the 590LM too. Like I've used that for 5 years. Great device, but this is just, I mean, the video will be a comparison, but there's really no comparison ultimately. So this camera doesn't really do it justice. The screen is just spectacular. Okay, so I'm going to click on agree. And it's going to say new routes found, import to trip planner. So I'm going to go ahead and click yes. And there's the route lap of Hyde Park. So I'm going to select that and click on import. What I'm going to do, I'm going to change this to motorcycle. And I'm going to enable GPS simulator so we can simulate driving the route. There we go, GPS simulator. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to go to apps and go to trip planner. And go to saved trips, and there it is, lap of Hyde Park, which was imported. I click on that, and now this is interesting, like as a view. So remember I was telling you about flags and dots and so on. So the start point, that's the compulsory alerting via point, is a green flag. The intermediate via point that I made alerting is a red flag. The rest of them are these blue dots, which are the non-alerting via points or shaping points. And then we've got a checkered flag at the end. On the device, you can change these as well if you want to. So if you decided, oh, well, actually, I don't want that to be an alerting via point, you can click on it there and change it to a non-alerting or shaping point, and it will just recalculate based on that. And similarly here, you click on the dot. It is going to change that to alerting. So if you say if you're out in the field and you realize, oh no, oh hell, I've made all my via points alerting, you can change them from here in and out. So that is that. Now you'll notice it recalculates. Typically when you send a route to the device, it will recalculate. So what it's doing is the set of instructions you've sent it, it's interpreting them based on its brain, if you like, or its navigation algorithm and its maps. So even if they are, oh, she started navigating already. So even if you're using the same map on both, it will typically recalculate. But that's not a problem so long as we've taken appropriate steps and included enough via points for it to work. So let's go back to where we were a second. Trip planner, save trips. lap of Hyde Park. So the first thing you should do really is click on map and see if it looks like what you're expecting. So that doesn't. That is interesting. Why is it doing that? So that's very strange. Is that the one I imported? Let me check. So Albert Gate, Kensington Road, Kensington Road. I've made a mistake. So there is a missing via point, I think. Or it's found it quicker to go a different route. Let's see. Unless it's not the one I just imported. So let me see. CMVR, or was it this one I brought in here? Again, no, it wasn't that one either. This is interesting. Okay, well, we're live, so we'll have another look. So let's go save trips. Lap of Hyde Park map. Okay, so it wants us to go. There's a couple of via points that are missing. Albert Gate, Kensington Road, Kensington Road. Okay. Let's try again. Okay, so let's go and check the route that we presented. So, lap of Hyde Park. First via point, Park Lane. That's correct. Bayswater, Kensington, Gloucester Road. And there's one other setting. Let's edit options. General device transfer. This one isn't checked. See, sometimes this is a problem. It says strip shaping points on routes from transfer to device, and that isn't checked, which is good. So this does highlight, if anything, the benefits of checking the route before you go. So let's go, and it does look correct. What I'm going to do, I'm going to rename it. And I'm going to put, call it maybe example 2. And I'm going to send it again and see if I can figure out why it didn't route correctly. What we saw there was strange, actually. It was like some of the via points, like these ones up at the top here, hadn't transferred, which was strange. So let's try that again and see where we get to. So what will happen now? Well, I'm going to have a quick bit of tea. We should see our device appear on the left again. What is possible, and I'm just trying to think of how it could have happened. I may have sent another route to the device with the same name before. That could have been the problem. I'm just trying to think why that wouldn't have worked. That's just a guess though, really. So give that a second to load. Okay, so I'm going to right click on it again and go send to Zumo XT and click on OK. And that, if we look up here, it has zipped along. That's gone back. So let's try again. So again, I will bring on my additional camera here, unplug the device, and fire it up. There we go. Give that a second to load. While that's loading, there is a question here. Is there a way to store maps on an SD card on the device rather than the internal storage? Yes. When you purchase a device, the map it comes with is installed on the device. But then if you insert an SD card, if the map on the device gets too big for the device, which can happen, you can be prompted to install your map updates on the SD card. Or also, if you purchase a new map, like I did on my old device, I purchased North American map, you get the choice as to whether to install it on the device or on the SD card. So yes, you can, but the default map is on the device, but any additional maps, or if the map gets too big, you're prompted to put it on an SD card. Okay, so let's try this again and click on yes. Lap of Hyde Park example 2, import, and we're going to go to apps, trip planner, save trips. Lap of Hyde Park example 2, go to map, and there we go. Good. I'm pleased to see that. So those of you watching, I'm not 100% sure what went wrong the first time. I think maybe it was because I transferred a previous route with the same name or something like that, as to why it didn't appear correctly. I'll try and figure it out, but yeah, this is what it's supposed to look like. So if we zoom in, and we see we've got our green flag, which is a start point or start via point, the red one, which is the alerting via point, and these blue dots, which are the non-alerting via points. And as I noted earlier, you can change these here if you like, but you see that's our route structure, and it's nice. Okay, so the next thing we can do is simulate driving this route. So I'm going to go to settings, settings navigation, GPS simulator. There we go. And okay. And then I'm going to go back to the trip planner and go to save trips, example 2, and click on go. And so this is what's interesting as well. With the new Zumo XTU3 options. So when you're launching a route, whether you're checking it at home or you're out in the field, you can choose where you want to start. Now, on older devices, you can choose the start point, the end point, or any alerting via point you can choose as a start point, and it will navigate you to there first. So if you wanted to choose one halfway around, as long as it's an alerting via point, you can choose it. If you had no alerting via points, you can go and change one of the non-alerting to alerting, like I showed you a bit earlier. With the latest devices, the newer ones, you get this closest entry point, which is super cool. So if you're halfway around the route and you just ride off to get a sandwich or something, or stop for a photo opportunity, or just, I don't know, wander off somewhere else, typically happens. Someone in the pack gets lost and you have to go and find them like a shepherd on a motorcycle. You might want to get back on the route, and then the newer devices have this nice closest entry point piece, which is very cool to do. So when you're simulating the route, if you choose like the start point, it will navigate you, I think, from your last known location to the start point. That's not that desirable if, say, you plotted this route in France and you wanted to check it. But when you're simulating the route, you can just choose the end point as your next destination, click OK, and it's going to navigate you around the route. So we click on Start now and click on Simulate Driving the Route.
200 yards, keep left on next bridge.
So he's now riding around the route. So these are the summary. Again, on the newer devices, they have a summary of the route on the left there, and round he goes. So I'm getting my live traffic updates as well. So it's going to go around the route now, which is like super useful. So a couple of other things to point out within here. If we skip this out. She's talking away, but there's this option here, skip a via. I don't have any remaining via points, but you can, on almost every Garmin device I've owned, there's the option to skip via. If we had a via point, an alerting one, it should appear there to skip. So if you've missed something and it keeps prompting you to go back, do you know what I do? I'm just going to go ahead and mute that quickly. So there we go. So I'm not shouting over it. So what I was saying, and I couldn't find it, the skip via point used to be under this menu here. So on 590 LMs and 595s, it's under this menu. On the XT, it's just there. Just there, you see it's skip via. So if you've missed a via point, an alerting one, for example, and it keeps harassing you to go back, you can click that. Now, a couple of other things to point out. See that blue dot? That is a non-alerting via point, which we're just about to pass. So that's what it looks like in the real world. Now, simulating routes is so useful because you can really check whether it's going to work or not. And you can put this on in the background and watch something on television or whatever you want to do, like to check. So say if you were plotting some routes for an overseas trip in Spain, for example, and you're the ride leader, and you want to make sure everything is going to work correctly. So set up all your routes, transfer them to the device, and turn on GPS simulator, plug them in with a power cable and just leave it there on the side while you're watching TV and glance at it occasionally. And then you can be 100% sure, or as much as is actually possible, that it's going to work and it's going to work correctly. And I've done this myself when I've been a ride leader and I just didn't want any hassle on the day. I've gone ahead and done that. So yeah, something to consider. But other things to point out, I mean, I've pointed out already, but this skip via, super useful when you're kicking off routes. So that's a simple route. In fact, we'll just leave that running for now. And what I'll do is I'll show you a more complicated route. So let's go back to BaseCamp. So let's go to Essex. Essex is great. Let's see if I can find it correctly. Or I could search Finchingfield. And see if we can find Finchingfield Post Office. There we go, Finchingfield. So Finchingfield is a great place to stop in Essex if you're a motorcyclist. There's a nice bridge with a sort of stream and great places to have a sandwich and so on. And the surrounding roads are just fantastic. So let's say we wanted to do a ride around Finchingfield. Let's kick it off from there. So again, I'm going to select a list. Let's do it in list one again. I'm going to click the new route tool. I'm not going to drag start point and end point. So I'm going to click away. So if I was going to go around Finchingfield and we'd arranged to meet in Finchingfield, I'd put my start point away from Finchingfield. Don't put it at Finchingfield, because then when you're starting, the device might be trying to get you to the center of Finchingfield, or it might be behind you, or any of these things. Just don't do that. Put it some way along the route you want to go, and then when you click on the device, it'll say where do you want to go first. Click the start of your route and it will start navigating you. So I'm going to go there, and I'm going to go maybe B1057, and I can pan around with the keys. And I can also, I'm trying to remember how to do this. I'll try and remember quickly. So if you go and choose the hand tool and go up, and we come back to the route tool, we can carry on plotting the route. So although that's appeared again up here, we can carry on. And so one other thing we can do, I think it's, if we select the route we were doing, let's go show on map and pan that around there, and we choose the route tool again. No, it's not. There's a way to continue doing this, and I'm trying to remember how to do it because it's different on the Mac. Is it insert? Yeah. Right. Okay. So now we can continue plotting. So we should be able to. Yay! There we go. Brilliant. So I clicked on insert, and then I went to the end of the route, and I'll show you that again, in fact. So to continue plotting, you can select the route, show on map, and click on this insert point, then hover over the point you want to continue from, and it kind of goes like this kind of dark circle. Click on it, and then you can carry on. So you can zoom in and out, you can use the arrow keys and so on, but just be mindful that you can continue plotting a route, because in the beginning when you start using BaseCamp, you might be like, oh no, I've clicked off, now I have to start again. You don't. Just select the route, insert point, hover over the end, you're good to go. So let's go Steeple Bumpstead. Let's go here. So it's going to go over and down, and let's zoom out a bit more. Come down to here maybe, and let's go back towards Finchingfield, and there we go. So so from here the drill is more or less the same. So let's go and right click and rename this as like Finchingfield loop. Okay, double click on it again. Make sure we've got center on map. So click on these and check that they're in a good position. Again, it's not looking good for me today. I've done there what I've told you specifically not to do, I think because I wasn't zoomed in enough. And that's the advantage of doing this. Now we're zoomed in, we can see I've put it on a junction very bad. So I'm going to click on move point and move it away from the junction, further up the road, like I said we should do. And then Little London is there. That's fine. That one's fine. This one, it's okay. It's not too close to the junction. This one is bad. Okay, so again, we're going to move that. In fact, that's in the middle of town. Let's move it away from the middle of town and outside of town. There we go. The route should be the same. Yeah, there we go. But we're removing complexity, if you like. That was that one, and then this final one, B1053. Now, again, these are all showing as won't alert. I think that is because of the latest version of BaseCamp. Just puts them in as all not alert. If they were alerting or so on or different, you can just select Shift and select the final one, right click, don't alert on arrival. Highly recommend you do that. The chap in the US, again, the same chap, said that I was speaking about earlier, he puts alerting via points on state lines and things, so he knows when he's approaching the state line, or maybe if you put in a fuel stop, you might want to make that an alerting via point so you can see the distance to the next via point and so on. But for general riding, just make him non-alerting and we're all set. So that all looks good. The same drill as before would be we'd plug in the device, right click on it. In fact, let's do that, because what we're going to do next is we're going to create a route from a track. So let's plug in the device again. Give that a second to load. Continue. It's going to appear here soon, and then we right click send to the device, and again we can check it again and so on. So just looking at my checklist here, I'll check off a few more things: importing, simulating. Okay, so next we're going to look at how to create a route from a track, which is super useful as well. So the device should appear shortly in my list on the left. Just looking at the chat, there's no other questions thus far. So talking about this as well, if you had a load of routes on your old Zumo, say if you had a 595 or a 590, if you save them to the local library, you can transfer them to your new device, and they work perfectly as long as you've put in enough via points and so on. So what we would do is right click on the finishing field loop, send to the device, internal storage, and that will be ready to go next time. So next thing I'm going to show you how to do is create a route from a track. So there's a couple of things to consider here. So firstly, what is a track? A track is just a list of GPS points in order. So one after the other. When you import a route from something like Google Maps, it comes in as a track, or from Best Biking Roads as well, it comes in as a track. And the device is constantly tracking you all the time, which might be a bit spooky, but it's kind of useful though if you want to redo a route again. But a track is just a series of points. Doesn't contain any navigation instructions. So when we import a track, we want to be able to make it into a route and make it navigable. So let's do a real world example. So today I went out on the bike. I actually did this morning with the guys, and we went around like Aylesbury and so on. So if I select my device here and I scroll down, all these bits with feet on are tracks. So you see where we've been. Now this morning, so today was the 28th and I left at 7:23. So that is the track from today. That's what we did. So if I want to make a route out of this track, to make life easy for myself, I'm just going to first right click and choose copy, and I'm going to paste it into a local list. Let's paste it into list 2. Paste into there and let's go right click show on the map. So that's where we went. I wasn't leading, I was following. So I'm really bad at remembering where we went, so this is so useful for me. So say if I wanted to ride this again, or I wanted to lead it next week, or if Tim wasn't here who led today, if he's on holiday and we're like, let's do that route again, I want to turn this into a route, but I also want to remove some stuff. So the interesting bit is this bit up at the top. This bit down at the bottom is how to get out of London early in the morning, which isn't really relevant to the route. So what I'm going to do is, should I rename this first? Okay, I'm going to rename it first and call it Ride Out 1, for example. So I'm going to double click on it, and it's going to show me some statistics about the ride. So how many points, the distance, and so on. speed and so on, the maximum speed there, so 156 miles an hour. Depending on the GPS accuracy, you may get some interesting figures here with regards to your top speed. And when you look it up, sometimes it shows that you've done that within a village, or you've gone from 0 to 156 in like 3 seconds or something like that. But I didn't do 156 miles per hour today, so I'll just say that. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to change this. So let's go and change the color to, let's change it to green so it's easy to see. There we go. And the simplest way we can do this is to just click create route. And what that will do is it will create a route from that track using the activity profile that we've selected, which is motorcycling. Now this takes like quite a long time to do because the route's made up of thousands of points. And it's going to take a while. And the route it produces has some flaws, which I will explain. Oh, I should have remembered that this does take quite a long time. So while that's calculating, I'll describe what it's doing. So it's creating a route based on that track. And as we can see in this view, the route that it creates only has 2 via points. It has the start point and the end point. So all of the other points, I really should have cut this down, are based on the track. And try and follow along with this bit. It's a little bit more complicated. When it creates this type of route, the route is based on those 2 via points and a lot of additional data called Garmin route point extensions, which are pieces of GPS data, GPS data or points, which form the route, but you can't really see, and they're sort of hidden in the background. Now, the point with this is if the route recalculates for any reason. So if you're out on the trail and you've ridden off to get a sandwich, or you've stopped, or you've made a mistake, the route recalculates based on the via points. So if you do anything to cause this route to recalculate, it just junks the route and you're just left with a start point and an end point, and it navigates you there by whichever activity profile you're using. So typically a fastest time. So it will just give you a direct route to the end, which is undesirable. You can avoid that from happening by changing the settings on your device to stop it recalculating automatically. So there's a setting, and I'll show you this. You can say don't recalculate automatically, or prompt you to. So it'll say you've gone off the route, do you want to recalculate? And then you can choose yes. But regardless, if it recalculates, it junks the route. Turning off recalculation can be undesirable as well, because it means that if you've ridden off the route, you're on your own to try and get back to it. It won't help you. It won't help you back to it. So I hope that was making sense. But this is nearly done with its recalculating now. So we'll give this a second to continue, and then I'll show you how we can work with it. Almost there. The next method I'm going to show you, the recommended method, is much faster than this as well. Okay, so we've got our route. Brilliant. Okay, so there it is, ride out 1. And you see it's got a start point and an end point, but it has no let's go show on the map, no intermediate via points. So if that route's perfect, we can go ahead and send it to the device. Let me go and right click on it and just rename it. Let's call it no via points. Okay, so like I said, if that route's perfect and you're happy to set your device to not recalculate, whoops, booted my camera, that might work for you. But what's better is to make the route or add more via points, which is what we're going to look at how to do next. So let me close out of there. The other undesirable thing with this route, if I go and copy and paste it, just so we've got 2, let me in fact copy, duplicate, apologies. There we go. So we've got 2 of those now. So if I want to edit this route, I really can't. the one we've created, because it's got no via points. The only via points it has are the start point and the end point. If you click anywhere on it, the whole thing like disappears. Like, okay, boom, there we go. So now our route is no more. So I'm just going to do an undo and bring it back. So not only is it harder to work with out in the field, it's harder to work with on the computer as well. So this is the recommended method. So I'm just going to delete that second one here, and I'm going to delete the duplicate via points as well. So right at 1 which was there, delete, yeah, and I think it was 1 2. In fact, delete those two. Okay, cool. So this is what I'd recommend you do. So once you've imported the track, so I'm going to double click on it and change the activity profile to direct. All right, that's the first step. And now when I click create route, just note we've 174 miles. It's going to ask me how many via points do I want to create. It only does this when you choose a direct activity profile. So we've got 174. Let's say maybe 20 via points. Okay, so see how quickly it created that route. Okay, so that's currently direct straight lines. And that's not very useful unless we've got a helicopter. I don't have one yet. So let's make it more useful. Let's change it now to motorcycling, and it's going to recalculate. But it's going to recalculate this route based on the 20 via points. So there we go. So now let's change the color to red and close out of that. Now we can actually make changes to the route because we've got via points. So we can move these and change them and so on. So if I was going to do this for real, and I was going to add it to my device, which is this one, let's rename it and call it with via points. Oops. Rename. Okay, with via points. Okay, so next thing I would do is the same drill as before. So I would check all of the via points. What I need to do really though is delete the bits that aren't relevant. So let's go and show on the map. So everything south of this bit pretty much we don't need. So there's ways you can delete these like one by one. So you can delete these like via points like, oops, do I have the correct one with via points? Yeah. So let's go here and delete. So you can delete individual via points and it will recalculate each time. Or if you want to speed the process up, you can use the divide route tool, which is there. So you see the bits of dark gray and light gray. So you could say, well, there's an overlap on this, so it's a small bit of a challenge, but let's say I want to divide it there. So the bit there, I just want to delete. Okay. Yep. And so if we go back to our route with via points, it has the bit where I rode up. So I'm going to go divide route again and just try and pick out like maybe there. And I click yes. So now we've got the main part of the route, which is there, and the start bit, which is there, which we don't need. So I'm going to delete that. There we go. Right, so this is what we're left with, which is the actual riding bit. So from near sort of Watford around this loop. So what I'll do, because I was dividing and so on, it's got a different name, so let's call it ride out with via points. Okay, now so same drill as before. Double click on it, center on selected, and check all of your via points. So that's starting on the M1. Okay, fine. That's a bit earlier. I'd probably, if I was doing this for real, I would maybe move a bit further up, or maybe not start on the M1. I'd start in Watford. But yeah, for an example, let's say it's there. But let's go and check all of these. So far, okay. So there's a problem. We don't want that to be there. We want it to be up here. So again, move via point, give it a second to recalculate, and we're good to go. So we were, I think, here. Yep. And so we go through and check them all again. Yeah, I'm not that happy with that. I'd move that to there and so on and so on. So check all of the via points and go through. And then when we're happy with all of that, okay, let's actually do this properly. I was thinking just because we're getting close to the hour, we could speed it up a bit. But these are the problems, you see. Like, we don't want via points to be on roundabouts. It's just a bad idea. So let's move that up to there. And practice our good route practice. So it was 1.7. Yep. Again, that's not good either. So let's move that over to here. There we go. That was 1.8. That looks okay. That's not good. What you tend to find when you create routes and tracks with this method, for whatever reason, all the via points, I think it's just bad luck, but all the via points tend to be on junctions. That's just down to chance, but it just always seems to be the case. So you want to fix that as well. Move that over to there. And that one's okay, that one's okay, that one's not okay, so let's move that to there. That's fine, and then there we go. Oh, brilliant, look at that. So we need to move that one as well. So let's go and move that. Move point and move it. Let's move it down here. There we go. For the way home. Perfect. There we go. Perfect. So from there, we would right click and send to device. So let's go ahead and do that. Send to the Zemo. And we'll send the one with no via points as well. Send to the Zemo also. I'll just show you this quickly just for interest really. If I go and export that one, so let's go and export export selection. So I'm going to export that. Let's go and put it in the desktop. There we go. Just put it there. This is going a bit deeper, but I'll just show you anyway. If I go and open that now in a text editor, so desktop, there we go. This is all the data of the file, and you'll see these are the via points. There's like 2 via points, but all these points here are the route point extensions. We should see it written here, route point extensions. So for that one with no via points, that's what's making up the route. But as I say, as soon as the route recalculates, all of that's junked, and then it just relies on the via points you have, so it creates a direct route, which isn't ideal. The other route we created, the one with via points, if you go off track, it recalculates based on the remaining via points, so it's more robust, if you like. So let's go and import those routes onto the device. And then we'll wrap up for today. I had planned as well to talk about Google Maps to Garmin and importing that, but we'll do that in a later video and give that maybe full focus. So before we jump to the device, the other thing to show is if you want to share routes, there's ways you can share them with the device, but if you want to share them over the internet, just right click. Apologies. Just go to File, Export. Export selection, and then you can send that to whoever you like as an attachment. Just be aware if you're going to send someone a track that all the data in the track, including exactly where you went and how fast you went and so on, is there. Like this track shows you how to get to my house, so I wouldn't want to share that on the internet. But maybe this route I would be happy with, because this one here with via points, because it doesn't have any speed data and it doesn't show you how to get to my house. Okay, so let's go and import this as the final step for today. So I'm going to unplug this here and fire it up again. Let's just check the questions, if there are any further questions. None at the moment, but those of you watching, if there's something in particular you'd like to know about, or something you want me to look at, just contact me through YouTube or write a comment in the video, and I'll get a look at it. It's no problem. I really like this stuff, actually. I like the software, but BaseCamp in particular is a bit sort of late 90s, but that's sort of my period, so I quite like that. And I quite like that once you figure it out, there's a lot you can do with it. But yeah, if there's anything you'd like to see done or so on, or if you want to send me a route and show people how to work with it, I can go ahead and do that. So let's fire it up. Click on agree. New routes found, import to trip planner. Click yes. So there's the finishing field loop, the ride out with no via points, and the ride out with via points. Let's go and import those. So in they come now. And they're recalculating. So the one that's going to take a while is probably the one with all of the route point extensions. The one with no via points. That's the other thing to consider. If you work with routes and tracks in that manner, just create a route from the track. It takes longer to calculate it on the computer, and it also takes longer to calculate it on the device, because it's now calculating it from thousands of points rather than just the 20 we specified. So that is going to take a while. While that's working, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can tell you about, because I do want to show you this as an example. So do you know what? We'll cancel that one and let's go to apps, trip planner. Let's go save trips. Now we should be able to import. Yeah. Okay. So if you don't do them automatically at the beginning, you can go to import. So let's do finishing field loop. Let's go to ride out with via points and import. Now watch, cannot calculate the route. That is strange. Let's try that again. So let's go import finishing field loop. Okay, so that's gone in now twice, and let's try and import ride out with via points. That is strange. Cannot calculate the route. Why isn't it letting us do that? That is strange. Maybe I made a mistake, which is also possible. Finishing field loop, let's go and look at that. That looks good. All our via points are there. Let me just go ahead and try and resend that one again. The route I created from the track. So let me go and import that again. So undo that. You see what was wrong with it. It all looks fine. We've only got 20 via points. Maybe I'll clean it up a bit more. So maybe if I remove a couple of these, delete that one as well, and recalculate. Okay, so let's go show on the track, show on the map. Looks good. Yeah, looks good. Let's go and try and send it again. So let's rename. Let's call it example. Example 2. And here comes the zoom out. Right, so right click, send to internal storage. Okay. That's going to go green now. So let's try again. Let's fire it up. It's loading now. Let's bring on that camera again. So live streaming is in some respects more fun than recording and video editing, because when things happen, you have to deal with them. when you're video editing, you go, "Oh, that's unfortunate," and then you go and do a few more goes and get it perfect before you post. But live stream, it happens as it happens, which is good as well, because then if you experience this as well, you know it's not just you. So let's go and try agree again. New route found. Import to trip planner. Let's try it again. And now it's calculating. So some sort of a glitch happened last time. May have been my fault, or may have been because I tried to import too many things at once. Let's go trip planner, save trips, and it should be in here. Ride out with via points example 2. They're all our via points. click on the map, and there they all are, and we are good to go. So we can go ahead and ride that or simulate riding it. Now, just to conclude, or to sum up, I was explaining before, if you have a route with no via points and you ride off that route, or a route with 2 via points, a start point and an end point, you ride off that route and it recalculates, you'll lose your route. If you wanted to ride with a route with just 2 via points and rely on the fact you can ride on it, there's a couple of things you can do. So if you go to settings, navigation, off route recalculation, this is the setting you need. Change that from automatic to off or prompted. So if you've imported a track from Best Biking Roads or Google Maps or whatever, and you've converted it to a route, and you've done none of that maintenance I described, so you haven't gone via the direct profile and added via points, you've just gone with it as is, then you need to go in your device and change off route recalculating to off or to prompted, because if you leave it as automatic, any small mistake you make, or even if the route doesn't match the road properly, as soon as it recalculates, the route is junked and you're left with a direct route from where you are to the destination. So I hope that was clear. I'll try and explain that a bit more in future videos, but there we go. So just to conclude the video, let's go and put GPS simulator on again. Okay, let's go and relive this morning's ride out by going to trip planner, save trips, and go to ride out with via points example 2. Click on go, and I'm going to go to the start and click on go, and then it's going to calculate, and it goes through an environmental zone. Yeah, that's fine. Click on start, and let's see where we are. GPS is off. Simulate driving this route. Yes. Okay, so I am here. Great. So there we go. In fact, actually, let me go and tell you what I did earlier, which was to go to ride out with via points example 2. Go to the destination. There we go. Because then it won't navigate you to the start point. It'll just start on the route. Simulate driving this route. Yeah, there we go. So I am currently on the B485. Doing 37. Oh, I'm picking up speed. I'm getting up to 60, I think. Yes, there we go. So yeah, there we go. I'm going to relive this morning's route in virtual land. And I can also go and see where I am on the map, and so on and so on. There we go. So if I was going to ride that route again with the guys, well, that's ready to use already, but that's how I would go about doing it. So a lot of things we went through there. And I hope it was useful. As I say, if there are some questions, brilliant. Thanks for the video, very informative. Thanks, JMBO65, excellent. Graham said, hi, I learned a few tricks, thanks. I have some phantom tracks on my device, cannot delete them. Any thoughts? I'll have to think about that because I'm not sure. I'll have a think. Is it possible to speed up the simulated route as shown earlier? So I'll have to check how to do it on the device, but in BaseCamp you can, I'll show you that quickly. So in BaseCamp, if you go to the activity profile, so you go to edit activity profiles, and you go to routing, and it was, so we have to select one that actually drives here. So speed, adjust your average speeds. So in BaseCamp you can change them here. On the device, I'm not sure. I'll try and look into that. Look, I'm going to copy that into my OneNote and see if it's possible, because for checking it, you'd probably want to set the speed to maybe 90 miles an hour, even in villages, just so you can watch it quickly. So I appreciate that. I'll see if I can do that. Is there a way to build up a multiple day trip based on how many miles per day you would like to travel versus the number of hours of travel per day? Yes, there is. So there's a way you can do that in Trip Planner. But it's probably a question for another video. So I'll take that away. So there's a thing It's in BaseCamp, and it's also in, I think you can also do it on the device. So it is their trip planner, new trip. And you can specify like the number of days, the number of hours traveled per day. I'll have to check if you can do it the number of miles per day. And it puts a trip together. People have had mixed results with that. What might be better is to just plot an absolutely giant route and then divide it into smaller routes. I would suggest is a possibility. Okay, but yeah, I'll look into those too, especially that one about speed. That could be interesting. But yeah, thanks those of you who were watching. I do appreciate it. If you have any feedback, please send that through. If you have any more questions, send that through as well. In fact, I'll just bring back my simulated ride here. There we go. If you have any additional questions, just send that through. Picking up next, I'm going to try and live stream once a month. Maybe more, because it is quite fun. So I will put together a stream for Google Maps to Garmin as well, and try and address these other questions. Be interesting to know if you're mostly Mac users or PC users. I have both. I bought a Mac for the channel, to be honest, and I put together some Mac videos for that, but I can do a section on Mac as well. There's a ton of overlap. There's a few subtle differences, but those, once you're aware of, it's really helpful to you, and it can be frustrating if you don't know those things. And some of the things on the Mac version are more user friendly as well. But yeah, if you've any other thoughts, then please do send them in my direction, and I will do my best to sort that out. But yeah, once again, thanks all. Thanks for joining the first stream. Exciting milestone for the channel. And best wishes and ride safe. Enjoy the ride. Thanks so much. Good evening. Bye.